Awesome. Can you go to the next one? So, a part of this whole movement around abundance is really reframing the definition of what it is as well, right? Claiming your abundance. Claiming your abundance in all these different areas of our lives. Not playing the when I, then I game that most people are playing.
Yeah.
When I get that promotion, when I lose that weight, when I get this thing, then I'll be happy. The problem with that is no matter where you go, you're always going to have something else that shows up in your headlights to play the when I, then I with again. Right? So you got to claim what you have now and still have that ambition to go for more. And the courage really to go for more. Because nobody has lost their ambition. It's just been covered up.
Come on now.
A lot of people have lost their courage to go for it. But this is really about you just tapping into something that you already have. You don't need to become somebody different. Right? When you claim that abundance, the best definition we have for it is privileged circumstances. And you can just claim that at any point in time. You know, nobody's going to go around. There's no like abundance police. And if they hear you say, yeah, my life is fantastic, they're going to show up and blow the whistle and go, no, it's not. Don't say that. Nobody's going to do that. But you see, what we usually do is we usually use our language to describe what has happened to us in the past. I don't want you to ever do that again. I want you to use your language to prescribe.
Come on, Sean.
Yes.
What you're committed to about to happen in the future. So it doesn't matter if you wake up and your back is hurting. Don't claim that.
Right.
When somebody asks you how you're doing, don't claim the misery. Don't claim the it's okay but. Claim the fantastic next few steps that you want to take. Because your brain is powerful. Your brain goes, oh, it's supposed to look like that? Okay, well, let's just go create that.
Yeah.
Your brain is powerful. Can we go to the next one? So as you go through these, you know, the reframe, and as you really focus on life and abundance really being a set of privileged circumstances, you get to play a much bigger game.
Yes.
How many of you are ready for a bigger game?
Yes.
See, and you can't be waiting for the bigger game like, man.
You have to be ready. Okay.
It's gonna come by one day.
If it knocks, I'm gonna answer that door.
Gotta go get it.
It ain't knocking. It's not coming to you. You have to go for it. Right? You got to claim it. And when you get into that kind of movement, that kind of motion, people want to be around you too.
Yeah.
See, movement attracts movers.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
Come on now.
Mediocrity just attracts more mediocrity. And I'm not here to say what mediocrity is for you in your life. That's for you to decide. But if you know you have more in your heart and you're afraid to go after it, you have to ask yourself, am I living a life of mediocrity for me?
Yes.
And if the answer is yes, let that be the last time the answer is yes. You know, when I was 13 years old, I was hit by a car, run over as I was riding my bike to school, and I learned that life can be taken away at any time. And I made a promise to myself that no matter what I had to do, I would never look back, like Lisa was talking about just a moment ago, and say, what if? Because I just knew as a 13-year-old that would be the most painful conversation. What if I would have tried harder? What if I would have stayed away from gangs and drugs? And what if I would have paid more attention? And what if I would have stayed on the right path? What could I have become? And I'm not saying that to get you upset about anything that's happened in your past, but I'm saying that to get you inspired to not ever let that be an option from this point forward. How many of you are willing to make that commitment to you? You got to make that commitment to yourself. You got to make that commitment to that little child inside of you. Your little boy, your little girl inside of you does not need you to get all of your dreams.
Yeah.
But they need to know that you'll try.
Come on.
They need to know that those dreams are important enough to you to try, to get into the ring and fight with everything you got. And I'm not talking about a little slap fight. I'm talking about gloves coming off kind of fight, right? Biting, kicking, scratching, pulling hair, anything goes kind of fight, because this is your life.
Yes.
This is your life. You got to be willing to get in your life. And that's one of the things that I want for you. Can we go to the next one, please? I love this quote from Lisa. You know, she says, we can't change our last chapter. It's already been written. It's already in ink. But we can change the way our next chapter can be written because we're still holding the pen in our hands. I want you to hold up your pen that you have, if you have it. And if you don't have a pen or pencil, I want you to hold up your fingers like you do have a pen.
Here it is.
Don't ever take this for granted. And don't ever let somebody try to take this from you.
Yes.
And I don't care if they gave birth to you.
Say it.
Come on, Sean.
This is not their pen. And I don't care if they mean well for you. I don't care if they want to protect you. I don't care if they love you. I don't really care if you said I do to them. This is your pen. It's not their pen.
That's right.
And sometimes you just have to have that level of conviction in your life. And when people want to judge you, or when people want to tell you where they think you should go, you should say, I'm sorry, I didn't ask.
I had something to say. Come on now. Come on.
Because when it comes to my life, you're either part of the pavement or you're part of the steamroller. I don't care which, but you don't get a vote. This is my pen. That's the kind of conviction that it takes to overcome the challenges that you will have. How many of you have had some serious challenges in your life? Serious challenges. That means your story's better.
Yeah.
When was the last time you went to a movie and there was no conflict? That doesn't make it to Hollywood. Because nobody's showing up for that one. When was the last time you read a book and you were engaged in it with nothing that happened to the main character? There was no danger, there was no pain, there was no misery. We don't want to read that book, so why do we think that our life should be that way? If we really want to stand on the pedestal that we're called to stand on, to serve the people that are waiting for you to help them, then sometimes they need to know that you've been through some rough seas. Because listen, if I'm hopping on a plane with somebody, I don't want to hop on a plane with a dude that's just been in the little, you know, what are those things? The simulators or something? Listen, man, I want to know that you drove out of a hurricane.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's what I want to know. A big one.
Right.
I want to know that the plane was spinning and turning around. It almost hit. But you pulled the thing up and you got him back out. That's the plane I want to go with. That's who I want to follow.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're going through in your life, some of you might feel like right now you're in that category 5. Right? Just making your story better. Get excited about that part. Can we go to the next slide? So as you sit here and as you're ready for abundance, we want you to think of some questions to really get your mind prepared. What lessons have you learned in your life in order to set you up for abundance? Because everything that we typically call failure is just a lesson. And so many people want to get the lesson without going through the experience. I'm sorry.
Right.
You got to go to class to get the grade. What practices did you need to master, or do you need to master going forward? How many of you know there's some skill sets you need to learn?
Yep.
Awesome. The more clarity you have on that, the better you're going to be in telling yourself, your unconscious mind, which way you're going to go. What habits, what behaviors, what beliefs do you need to develop or let go of? How many of you know there's something inside of you, this belief, that's got to die in order for you to start living? And none of these beliefs that are holding you back are a part of you. They're just holding you down. And every single one of you have the ability. Turn to your neighbor and say, you have the ability.
In your life to set you up.
And then say, so what are you waiting for?
What you waiting on?
The time is now.
It is right now.
Right now.
What are we waiting for?
That's right.
The time is now. But see, for most people, the consequences aren't high enough.
That's it.
Wow.
So, the consequences aren't high enough. How many of you are parents? And how many of you like your kids? I don't know. Sometimes that's a different response.
That's right.
Like technically, I guess I gotta raise my hand. I'm kidding. But for those of you that are parents, you know this. There are things that you would move through, that you would crush through in order to save your children, right? Well, so what about your own sabotage then? Why is that different? Because our kids, they're watching the show.
That's right.
They're not listening to the lectures.
That's right.
So just like you can't say, sweetie,
What? Right.
you probably shouldn't smoke. Really? Just like you can't do that, you can't say, baby, you can have everything you want in life if you just go after it. Because your little seeds are going to go, well,
What's wrong with you?
show me that.
Right.
Show me that. And what I know is that as parents, we'll do more to show our children a lot of times than we'll do for ourselves. Right? So sometimes we just have to turn the dial up on the consequences. That's all. That's all. About 8 years ago, I was working in my office at home, and I heard my wife in the other room, and she said, Exley, that's my son's name, Exley. He was 1.5 at the time, tiny little boy. And I was working away, and I had my back turned, and I heard, Exley, Exley, Exley! And then I just heard some sound, like a knock. And then I heard this sound that I'd never heard before. And as I came out of my office, I saw my wife on her knees. And on the ground was my son. And I said, what happened? I screamed it. She said, he fell. And I said, from where? And she said, up there. Because we had a second story up there, and what happened is, that was the very day he got mobile. Those of you parents, remember how when your kids are small, you're like, man, I can't wait for them to move around. And then as soon as they move around, you put them down, you go back over here, and you're like,
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go? I wish they couldn't move anymore. It was the day that he got mobile and he climbed up the stairs. And on our second story, there were horizontal railings, so it was just basically a ladder, and he climbed up the ladder and he saw his little mommy down there and he yelled at her. And what I heard from down below is him falling over because his knees and his little body got caught up in the railings, and so that was the knocking that I heard. And then that second sound I heard was his head.
Jesus.
And my wife ran and she reached out to catch him, but his head still hit the ground from like 15 feet high. And I'm looking, and in this second, in this moment, I know my son died. And I started thinking, how many times have I been in that office checking emails and not being out here playing Legos with that little kid? How many times have I missed spending with my daughter or with my wife or with my family because my work was too important? And I'm thinking all of these thoughts and all of my inadequacies as a dad as I look at my little son. And then he starts to cry.
Praise God.
He starts to cry. And it was the most
Give me one of them.
beautiful sound I've ever heard.
I got a whole bag.
And to this day, there are times when he starts to throw a tantrum. And my wife and I look at each other and say, he's alive to throw a tantrum. And immediately his cries become beauty to our ears. How many things we take for granted.
Yes.
He ended up going to the hospital and spending a couple of days in ICU just to watch him, but he his little brain was still forming, and so he's fine today. He's totally fine.
Amen.
Thank you. My friend was standing behind my wife when he fell. And she had to run about 10 feet this way across all the toys in the toy room and then go 90 degrees to the right up a stair and then go 90 degrees to the left on the hardwood floor and get him. And she had to run as far as he fell. And my friend was behind her. And when I talked to him later that night, I said, "What happened?" And he looked like he still was seeing a ghost and he could barely move. And he said, "She can't get there." He just said, "She can't get there." Like he was still scared. And he told me there's no way she could run and do what she just did. And so a couple days later, I asked her, because she was still in mama protection mode. She didn't even want to think about the fact that her son might almost die because she was still nurturing him. And then finally, in one of those quiet moments, once he was out of the hospital, I said, "How did you do that?" And she just lost it. And then she just said, "There was no option not to." There was no option not to. What if you lived your life
Come on.
Non-negotiable.
like there was no option not to succeed? Like there was no option not to get your dream. Like there was no option not to see what you're made of. It's just not an option. How would that change things? Would it change things? I want you to grab a partner, just somebody right next to you. And if you need to get in a group of 3, you can. And I'm just going to give you maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes, something really quick. And I want you to, in short bites, in 15-second bites, go as many times as you can. And I want you to say, If there was no option not to succeed, I would. And just complete that sentence stem. I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Go.